Welcome everyone. Thanks so much for coming. I know it's late in the con, we've all seen a lot of awesome programming, so yay that you all have the energy for one more. My name is Professor Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore. I will be talking, about my last remaining years and sort of what was going on, up here and all around there. So yeah, if I'm a little hoarse, I blame the Swish and Flick set yesterday. So, alright. So I once told one of my favorite students, Harry Potter, he's my favorite, that I make mistakes like the next man. In fact, being, forgive me, rather cleverer than most men, my mistakes tend to be correspondingly huger. So I'm here to talk to you about one of those huge mistakes. So let me ask you guys, why do you think that Barty Crouch Jr. managed to get the best of me in Harry's 4th year?
He did it for a butt point?
What point?
He trusted Mad-Eye.
Okay. Anyone else? Any ideas? No?
I think he was more focused on his theories and stuff like that. And what was going on, and wasn't paying attention. Yeah, I trust Mad-Eye. I'm so focused on solving these plot points and stuff like that I'm not going to pay attention.
Okay. All good theories. However, the truth of it is that it's because I was on the outs with Severus Snape. It always comes back to Severus Snape, doesn't it? So, yeah, we kind of had a bit of a falling out in Harry's 4th year. And yeah, I'm just going to take you guys sort of through the events of that year step by step and show sort of how it all went so miserably wrong. So, let's rewind a little bit to the end of Harry's 3rd year. To set the scene, Harry had just found his godfather, Sirius Black, but there was a whole incident with a werewolf and a swarm of dementors. It was like a whole thing. And after it seemed like events had played out, Snape came up with an alternate facts version of what happened. There was a lot of heroism on his part, some confundus charms, and somehow Snape's version omitted the very important fact of Sirius Black's innocence. So I was not happy with this turn of events, so I decided to put the fate of an innocent man in the hands of 2 13-year-olds, as I do, and sent Harry and Hermione back in time to save Sirius Black. And so, somehow, they pulled it off. They got back to the hospital wing in time. It was midnight. It seemed like we could all just sort of go to sleep. Sirius was flying off on a hippogriff. And yeah, it seemed like we could all turn in for the night until Severus Snape had the mother of all tantrums. Now, if I recall correctly, which I do, he yelled at the Minister of Magic in all caps lock, "You don't know, Potter!" shrieked Snape. "He did it! I know he did it!"
He wasn't wrong.
So, I was not pleased. See, I was once full of contempt for Severus, because, that theater didn't turn out so great, whatever. But over the last 13 years, I thought he'd more or less redeemed himself. He'd been working on my side against Voldemort. I thought he was becoming a better person. And then, in one night, it all went up in flames. He proved himself to be cruel, vindictive, irrational. He was willing to subject innocent men to the Dementor's kiss over what was essentially a schoolboy grudge. And this is unacceptable. I was entrusting Harry Potter's well-being to this man, which has always been my absolute top priority. And how can I trust Harry to this man if he's completely nuts? And so, I was not happy with Severus that night, and one of my weaknesses that I'm not particularly proud of is that I rather enjoy goading people who piss me off. I had a great time with Fudge and McNair and everyone that night. Strange disguise, if you will. Oh my god, in Harry's 5th year, when Fudge was trying to discredit me, so much fun. And then, the last time I saw the Dursleys, I brought these glasses of matured meat to hit them on the head. Oh my god, it was great. So, anyway, that's the point. So, in that moment, day of Harry's 3rd year, I may have rather enjoyed myself at Severus's expense. Best part is, I totally goaded him with the truth. I told him, unless you're suggesting that Harry and Hermione are able to be in 2 places at once, I'm afraid I don't see any point in troubling them further. So, I've actually heard a few people come up to me and say that they thought this was code for Snape to shut up in that moment because he knew about the time turner, and that was me being like, shh. No. First of all, no reason for Severus to have known about the time turner. Like, he's not Hermione's head of house. Like, he frankly could not care less what classes Hermione Granger was taking. So, need-to-know basis. But also, the dude was yelling at the Minister of Magic in the moment. I didn't think he was in the right frame of mind to receive coded messages and, follow through with them. So, anyway. Antagonizing Severus was rather dangerous on my part, because he has a tendency towards grudges.
Really?
I know. Who would have thought? But honestly, I kind of couldn't help it, because he had completely ruined Harry Potter's happiness by taking away his godfather. Like, the best thing for Harry would have been to have Sirius there for him, and Snape very nearly ruined it all. And as I said to Harry a couple years later, what did I care if numbers of nameless and faceless people and creatures were slaughtered in the vague future, if in the here and now you were alive and well and happy? I know. And I didn't have a chance to talk with Severus that night because we were both in a bit of a huff. In fact, people should have picked up on the fact that we kind of didn't talk that night, because a year later, when Barty Crouch Jr. mentioned the Marauders map, I was like, map? What map? And Severus totally would have told me about the map, if we sat down for a conversation that night. But anyway, we didn't talk that night, and the next morning, he essentially committed an act of open defiance against me. He outed Remus Lupin as a werewolf. Not cool. And so, there began our off-screen estrangement. Because the first thing I did after that was call in a new right-hand man, Mad-Eye Moody. Because I needed someone to watch over Harry, and clearly Snape was not going to be the one to do it. So yeah, I called in my old friend, Sirius Black, who thinks rather highly of me, doesn't everyone, thought that I called in Mad-Eye Moody because I was reading the signs, but no. It's because I needed to replace Snape. Like, obviously, the signs, like, the dark mark appearing is not more worrisome than a mass murderer breaking out of Azkaban. Signs were fine. But yeah, I needed to replace Severus, and it didn't go over well, to put it mildly. As the months went by, though, I did begin to notice some weird stuff happening. This old muggle was murdered in Voldemort's ancestral hometown. Bertha Jorkins disappeared. There was that dark mark. And so it all came to a head on Halloween, as these things so often do, when Harry's name came out of the Goblet of Fire. So, after I very calmly asked Harry if he could stay with the goblet, and he said he didn't. I realized that something was afoot. And I would bet this rather not very good beard that Voldemort was up to something. But then I was faced with the issue of who could have done it? Who could have made Harry the 4th Triwizard Champion? So, process of elimination, we go down the list. Wasn't a student. No students could have hoodwinked the Goblet of Fire. Wasn't one of the teachers. I trust my teachers, even Severus with his tantrums. I trust Madame Maxime. We're tight. She's a great dancer. Like, that's fine. Barty Crouch Sr. hates the dark arts. Like, he wouldn't be working with Voldemort. So that leaves Ludo Bagman and Igor Karkaroff. And I mean, neither one really seems like the evil mastermind type. Like, I mean, I could be mistaken, but like, not my first guess. So then there's always the option of magical foul play. There's the Imperious Curse, there's Polyjuice Potion, there could be more unregistered anime guy, Voldemort could be possessing someone, so on and so forth. So, okay, fine. I look at it from the other end. Who's helping Voldemort, right? Because he has to have help. He's, you know, less than the meanest ghost and so on. So I know where all the former Death Eaters are. The ones in Azkaban are accounted for. I, like, call up the Dementors and I'm like, hey, Bellatrix in her cell? Yes. Rabistan? Yes. Dolohov? Yes. Great. I know where all the Death Eaters at large are. You know, Lucius Malfoy is strutting around Malfoy Manor. McNair is executing Beast. Crabbe and Goyle are, well, I'm not getting anything interesting, but, you know, I know where they are. So, it could be a dead Death Eater. You know, another one who was presumed dead but not, a la Pettigrew. But I mean, how am I supposed to know which dead Death Eater is instead? Like, we try to keep good track of these things. And I mean, it's not Pettigrew because Pettigrew needs to be taking care of Voldemort in the moment, and also doesn't have the brains for this. So, I got nothing. Hagrid said that I was more worried than ever he'd seen me, and yeah, because for the first time, Voldemort was 10 steps ahead of me. And not a fan of that position. Just really not. And this is a rather unusual case where the readers of Harry Potter's biography knew more than I did about the whodunit aspect. Because the readers have information I don't. For example, I was not aware of the whole thing with Crouch's house elf Winky at the World Cup, where Winky was saving Barty Crouch's seat in the top box that he then never showed up for, and then Winky was running through the forest. Like, none of that I was informed of until months later, when Harry, Ron, Hermione told Sirius, who then wrote a letter to me. But that was in March, and we're like in November right now. I also don't know about Ludo Bagman's sketchy behavior at the World Cup, running around in the woods, or the fact that he's trying to help Harry with the tournament. Like, don't know what that's about. Anyway, there is one more crucial piece of information that I was missing. That's because Snape didn't tell me what he should have told me. So, back to Severus. Being in a fight with me did not improve him. Like, he's never really been the type of professor who, like, you know, gets apples from his students. But he truly reaches the zenith of his, are there kids? Unpleasantness. We'll go with unpleasantness that year. Some of his greatest hits, he threatened Harry with Veritaserum. He insulted the appearance of a 15-year-old girl in front of all her peers. He read Rita Skeeter's article in class. Like, yeah, not the best teacher. It got to the point where I had to check in with him at the Yule Ball. This was one of the memories he showed Harry during his Prince's Tale. Essentially, at that point, he still felt enough sense of duty to tell me about the Dark Mark. That, Karkaroff's Dark Mark was growing stronger just like his, and that Karkaroff was planning to flee. And then I had to ask the rather awkward question of, are you tempted to join him? Because at this point, I'd learned not to underestimate his vindictiveness. And I needed to see how far he'd take this. Like, I know that Severus will not go back to Voldemort's side. Because, again, back to the vindictiveness, if he's pissed off at me for letting Sirius go, he is a lot more pissed off at Voldemort for killing the love of his life. So I wasn't worried about that, but Severus is 100% the type who would just throw his hands up in the air and just become a free agent and not deal with any of it. And he is a player in the epic master plans I have against Voldemort, so I needed to know. And he replied, no, I am not such a coward. Which, good. Don't have to worry about that. But our relationship did not improve. In fact, one might say it deteriorated. And I kept missing crucial information. Because Harry did not tell me about his run-in with Snape and Mad-Eye Moody when he was figuring out the clue of the egg. If you recall, Harry went to the prefect's bathroom. He had an experience with Moaning Myrtle. All I'm saying. And he figured out the clue of the egg, so that was good. And then he is wandering about the corridors in his invisibility cloak in the middle of the night, as he so often does, and he sees Barty Crouch running around in Severus Snape's office. Weird. Then he gets trapped in a trick staircase, then Mad-Eye Moody shows up, Severus Snape shows up, Filch shows up, Mrs. Norris shows up. It's like a pajama party in the hallway. And Severus said that he did not think it mattered that someone was breaking into his office. Mad-Eye Moody said that this kind of thing would matter rather a lot because who knows what Snape's hiding. And Severus replied that he's not hiding anything, as Mad-Eye knows because Mad-Eye searched Severus's office. Now, apparently, Mad-Eye Moody searched Severus Snape's office on my orders. Except, I never gave that order. So Snape said, through clenched teeth, Dumbledore happens to trust me. I refuse to believe that he gave you orders to search my office. Defensive much? But he's right. I gave no such orders. If he had come to me, asked me, did you order Mad-Eye Moody to search my office, we would have been done. Would have known it was Mad-Eye Moody, and, we all could have gone home happy. But, because we were having some trust issues, Severus did not bring this to my attention, and I did know that Mad-Eye Moody was polyjuiced, and so Snape was stewing in his anger, and we all paid rather dearly for it. So, yeah, I know I'm saying this a lot, but things just kept getting worse between us two. By May of that year, Snape just had no sense of loyalty to me, because when crazy Barty Crouch Sr. shows up on the school grounds, raving mad, Harry runs off to try and inform me of this development, and Snape just completely impedes him. The headmaster is busy, Potter, said Snape, his thin mouth curling into an unpleasant smile. Here's the thing. Snape, for all his many, many, many faults, is not stupid. He knows better. He knows that if Harry is running around yelling about the disappeared ministry officials showing up on school grounds and crazy, that Harry should probably get in and let me know of this. So this is just Snape acting out. And unfortunately, Barty Crouch Jr. was clever enough to pick up on this lapse in our communication, and he began to rely on it. When I went down to meet Barty Crouch Sr., by the time I got there, he had disappeared. Mad-Eye Moody showed up rather quickly and explained it away as Snape said something about Crouch. Again, if I had asked Severus, did you say something to Moody about Crouch, the jig would have been up. But we kind of weren't on speaking terms. So, once again, Barty Crouch Jr. got the better of us, just because we weren't talking. After that little tantrum of Severus's, I just completely stopped relying on him. Because clearly he can't be the bigger person and put, the common good ahead of his own vindictiveness. So I did not even ask him to watch the maze in the third task. If you recall, the people patrolling the outside of the maze were Professor McGonagall, Professor Flitwick, Mad-Eye Moody, and Hagrid. No Snape. And this is a departure from how I usually run things. Usually it's Snape and Minerva as my right-hand people. Even when Harry's name came out of the goblet, they were with me. So, and this was a slight, and Severus recognized it as such. And meanwhile, the pieces still are not coming together for me. Because in addition to who put Harry's name in the Goblet of Fire, I now have a new mystery on my hands of what foul play was there against Barty Crouch Sr. So Harry actually walks in on me sometime later, puzzling this out in the pensive, going through my memories. I'm essentially trying to figure out who might have had a grudge against Barty Crouch Sr. My first guess is Death Eaters, so I'm looking through the trials over which he presided. Was it Bagman? Was it Karkaroff? What's Bertha Jorkins got to do with any of it? What about his son? Where does he factor in? At this point, I don't even know if Barty Crouch's son was even a Death Eater. He was taken in at 19, but so were other people, some of whom turned out to be innocent, and I just really don't know one way or the other. So once that avenue of questioning failed, I had to pursue another one. A rather morally murky one, but in the common good, and so on and so forth. I did what I had to do, and I used the fact that I had Barty Crouch's old house elf working in my kitchen to use legitimacy on her and find out what was going on with the Crouch family. And I mean, this shouldn't come as a surprise, because I freely admitted that I used legitimacy on another house elf a year later. I had to with Creature to find out about the Department of Mysteries. So, you do what you gotta do. Problem is, because Winky had been fired back in July, I didn't get as much information out of this as I hoped. I do now know that Crouch Jr. is alive, and behind the Quidditch World Cup ruckus, and it explained the Bertha Jorkins connection. However, all this does is make Crouch Jr. a suspect. Obviously, I'm rather curious what this presumed dead, alleged Death Eater may be up to these days, but that's still not confirmation that he's the culprit. And who put Harry's name in and how they did it is all still unknown. And pretty much I don't figure it out until the last possible moment. Harry comes out of the maze clutching another student's dead body, and Mad-Eye Moody whisks him away. And then my mind starts worrying, as it does, and I finally managed to figure it out with process of elimination. So, Karkaroff, Bagman, both present at the same time as Mad-Eye Moody, like when the champions were chosen. It's not Peter Pettigrew, because Harry had a dream about Peter Pettigrew with Voldemort a month ago, so Pettigrew can't be masquerading as Mad-Eye Moody. All the other Death Eaters are accounted for at some point throughout the year. It's not the Imperious Curse, because it's been a year. Mad-Eye Moody, the epic Auror, would have fought off the Imperious Curse after a year. So, unless there is a third Death Eater returned from the dead in 13 months, which, at this point, like, seriously, it is, like, almost certainly Crouch Jr. who's the culprit. And that is why I asked for Winky to be brought in before the Polyjuice even wore off, because at that moment, and unfortunately no earlier, I finally figured out that it was Barty Crouch Jr. Now, thankfully, once Voldemort has returned, both Severus and I finally decide to act like adults. It was a long time coming, but yes, we finally put our differences aside. Severus comes with me for Crouch Jr.'s unmasking, and follows my instructions, odd as they are, with nary a snide comment. Also, just saying, I love my staff sometimes. The fact that I can tell them, please fetch me a truth potion and a house elf, and get the dog at Hagrid's hut and tell him I will see him in my office later, that this is followed without a question. Like, guys, I have been trained so well. So, I realized what the issue was, and so, when we're in the hospital wing having our powwow after Fudge has proved himself to be the worst, I asked Sirius to come forward and shake hands with Severus because they are on the same side. And this is me silently challenging Severus. Can he be an adult? Can he put aside his hatred for Sirius and work together for our goal of defeating Voldemort? And I said the magic words that he had been longing to hear all year. I trust you both. And so, that's how Severus and I were reconciled. And, I mean, you know, there was a bit of walking on eggshells for a while after that. My instructions to Severus were more polite than to everyone else. It was like, you know, you go there, you do this, you get the giants, and then, Severus, you know what I must ask you to do if you are ready, if you are prepared. So, you know, still trying to be polite, but going forward, I had no issues asking Severus to do whatever I needed him to do. I even asked him to teach Harry occlumency, which was not one of my better decisions. But silver lining is that he actually agreed to do it. Because, let's be real, if I had asked him during Harry's 4th year, no way. He would have told me to take a hike. And, you know, our healed relationship kept coming in handy. When I put on the Resurrection Stone, when I found it in the Gaunt House and got the curse and all that, I went to Severus and asked him to heal me. And then, you know, I even asked him to do probably the most unpleasant thing I've ever asked anyone to do, kill me. This was a very, very, very big ask, because I was asking him to make himself a pariah in the wizarding world. You know, just paint a target on his back for literally everyone. And, I mean, he was not happy about it, but he did do it. You know, for which I'm grateful. I mean, you know, he needed a gentle reminder in the last moment, you know, Severus, please, but he did it. And if I had to guess, when Severus cast that fateful killing curse, he probably harkened back to his feelings in Harry's 3rd and 4th year, because, as our dear friend Bellatrix likes to tell us, when casting unforgivable curses, you have to mean them. And I think Severus meant it and had no trouble drumming up a bit of hate for me. But, you know, it all worked out for us, not him, in the end. Snake and... Anyway. So I guess the moral of the story is to not piss off Severus Snape. Thank you. We have about 15 minutes, so any questions, comments, concerns?
So here's one that has always plagued me.
Yep.
What happens to Hermione's contract at the end of book 3?
We sent it back to the ministry. Yeah, just we were not going to deal with that. And then they all got smashed 2 years later, and we never dealt with time travel again, and that's the story we're sticking to.
I have a question. Why weren't you concerned that Moody was teaching fourth years the unforgivable curses?
Why wouldn't you?
True, but I mean, still, this is a little bit young.
I mean, I think that mollycoddling our children is not the way to go. We addressed that at the end of the year when I came out and told those kids the truth, that their classmate had been murdered by Lord Voldemort, and, even if it upset them, they had a right to know. I think we'll just all be better off if we give our kids some more credit. And to be fair, it did come in handy. Frankly, Harry learning to fight off the Imperius Curse, I was not opposed to that lesson plan.
So, Matt, I already had that in the lesson plan as I wanted to teach kids this.
Listen, here's the thing about my management style. I tend to be hands-off. I have a lot going on, right? So I'm the Supreme Mugwump of the International Confederation of Wizards. I'm Chief Warlock of the Wizengamot. I enjoy chamber music and 10-pin bowling because we kind of relax. Knitting patterns. I have all of this going on with Lord Voldemort, and listen, it is time-consuming. So I tend to be hands-off with my teachers, unless something drastic happens, like, Harry getting in trouble, or, unless something drastic happens, I just sort of live and let live. Like, if a student gets turned into a ferret once or twice, it's fine, it builds character. Way back there.
Do you regret not pulling Harry into what was happening or what was coming earlier?
That is a complicated question, and one that I have presented about at length at other MISTI-Cons, so I'm not really going to try to recap a 40-minute presentation right now, but the short answer is, I have regrets with Harry, but I also think I did the best that I could do. I explained it to Harry when we did finally talk about the prophecy that 11 was too young, 12 was too young, and then all of this went down. So, yeah. Do you have a question?
I did. You're saying this whole thing started at the end of the third year when Severus pitched his little hissy fit in the hospital wing, and
yes.
As much as it pains me to defend third year not pleasant Snape, he wasn't wrong. I mean, Potter was in two places at once. He did put the life of a 13-year, the life of an innocent man in a 13-year-old's hands, and a man that Severus hated. I mean, that's his. I mean, you know Severus as well as the rest of us do, probably better. Sirius and James and Remus, those are his weak points. Can you really blame him for pitching a fit?
I can absolutely blame him for the extent to which he took it.
He's an adult. That was high school. He should get over it.
Exactly. Like, if he wanted to have a fit, if he wanted to, not talk to Sirius, if he wants to, have fisticuffs, fine. But if you're going to tell me you want to suck out the man's soul for what he did at 16, no, I do blame him for that. Back there again.
Well, I had read somewhere else and also that Severus wasn't really reacting to what they had done to him in his 5th year. but reacting to the fact that he thought that Sirius was in fact the person who had betrayed James and Lily Potter.
That's still true. However, that does not change the fact that he was still willing to play, jailer, judge, and jury. Again, if he had trapped Sirius and brought him to me, it would have been fine. The fact that he's just, go, Dementors, make out with him now, that's not cool. Also, again, my priority here is Harry. And Severus messing with Sirius negatively impacts Harry, and that is the biggest reason I was mad. You had a question.
I had a little, I don't want to get into a huge Snape debate, but I also think we missed the part about that Snape outs Remus Lupin, who's the teacher at the school. And that's another reason that Dumbledore would be very upset, because Remus hasn't really, they were, they didn't have a great relationship at the school, so it was part of the group who bullied him, but he wasn't the one who perpetuated this pain.
Yeah.
Prank.
And
All
Lupin
Remus
was like
Yeah.
excellent teacher.
Yeah, well, also Lupin was the only, semi-adult of the lot. Recommendation, if you like the Snape-Lupin relationship in third year, check out the Wizard Rock song Wormwood and Wolfsbane by Nagini, because it is wonderful.